Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well. Lovely to see you on this rather bright autumnal morning. Firstly, we are dedicating today's learning in memory of all of those whose Yortzeit falls today, as well as all of those who we are saying Kaddish for during the year. We wish their respective families long life and only simchas. We also want to extend warmest Mazel Tov wishes to the Davis family on the occasion of Daniel Davis's wedding today. To Andy, wish you and all the family big Mazel Tov. Looking forward to sharing in your simcha and joining you at the wedding, which we have waited for so long. So I want to speak to you this morning, friends, about, let me first say good morning to some of our viewers. Good morning, Carol, Peter, Rachel, Andy, and Estelle. Good morning to each and every one of you, as well as all of those that are still joining us. So I want to ask you a question, okay? I want to ask you a simple question. What is better in life? To do something because you want to do it, or to do something because you're told to do it? Okay? Let's have an answer on the comments. We're waiting for an answer from somebody. What's better? The child that decides to tidy the room, or the child that follows the instructions of the parent to tidy the room? Estelle, Andy, anyone? Waiting for an answer? No answers? No one wants to share an answer with me? Okay, so that's the topic that we are going to be dealing with today, okay? And hopefully we will have a surprising answer, an insight, and a profound idea at the end of it. So it goes like this. Okay, Andy, because you want to do it. Because you want to do it, yes. So most people, Estelle thinks it's a trick question. I'm not quite sure why you feel, just because I'm asking it, does it mean it is a trick question? I guess it is a bit of a trick question. And Andy gave the answer that I expected everyone to give. Well done, Andy. Let's have a look and see if I can change your minds and perceptions at the end of this. So let's start. So this coming week's Torah portion is about, we move on to Abraham. And we know that Abraham was very much an iconoclast, somebody who set himself aside from the rest of the world. The rest of the world believed and worshipped idols, and Abraham decided to look into things. He went through a long process of thought, introspection, and looking at the world around him, and he came to a realization that it can't be that these little idols were actually controlling and ruling the world. Now, the background, we're going to look at a medrash today, and the medrash, the rabbinic exegesis, will help us answer our original question. So here's the question. Well, let's just do the medrash, and then we'll understand the question. Okay. So the medrash goes as follows. So we have Abraham, and he grows up in a home which is not the type of home I think that we would want our children to marry into. His father was in wholesale, okay, and in wholesale of selling idols. So they were the big, big in the idol world. And his father left him one day to watch the shop, to watch the business, and he went off. And whilst he was gone, Abraham had already realized that that there was God, that there was one God, and all these little idols were worthless. And therefore, he took a hammer and he literally smashed all the idols except for the big one. And he put the hammer in the hand of the big one. Well, his father came back from wherever he was, and he came back and he realized that something was wrong. And he goes, "Oh my God, look what's happened here. What happened, Abraham? What happened?" Okay. And Abraham, of course, says, "Oh my goodness, my God, look what's happened here." Abraham says, "I don't know. Look, the hammer's in the hand of the big one. It must be that the big one smashed all the other idols." His father becomes very, very angry. Terach becomes very angry. He says, Abraham, stop joking around. This is a serious matter. You know that they don't speak, they can't move, they have no power. So how's it possible that the big one smashed the small ones? He can't move. He's an inanimate object. Ta-da, says Abraham. Exactly my point. So why do you continue to worship and to believe that these things have power when you yourself have just said that they don't have power? Well, Terach had enough. He says, "Listen, I'm not putting up with this. This is the black sheep of the family. We need to make him see sense." So he took him to Nimrod, told Nimrod what had happened. Nimrod, who was the boss, said, "Listen, this is a completely unacceptable. This is wayward child needs dealing with." So he said, he says, "What do you have to say, Abraham? You know, we don't want to punish you, but you know, what do you got to say?" So he said, "Listen, I think that there are power in things. So let's now worship let's all bow to the wind, because the wind has power, because the wind is able to blow the trees." Nimrod said, "That's good. Okay, Abraham, I can see you're putting power in natural things. I'm okay with that. Let's bow to the wind." So on the count of three, 1, 2, 3. And then Abraham goes, just as everyone's about to bow to the wind, he says, "1 minute, but the wind is sometimes there and sometimes it's not there. But then we should bow really to the moon, because the moon is always there." Ah, Nimrod says, "That's a good idea. Let's bow to the moon. The moon has real power." So they start bowing to the moon. And then Abraham says, "1 minute, before we bow to the moon, we've got to think about it. The sun has even more power, right? The sun is much bigger, stronger, brighter, warm. The sun's greater. The moon just reflects the sun." Nimrod says, "You're right. Let's all bow to them. Let's bow to the sun. Now, no games now, Abraham. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. And just as they're about to bow to the sun, Abraham turns around to him and says, "But you know who created the sun? That is the God. That is the true God, the one God in the world." Nimrod says, "I've had enough of you. This is all rubbish. You're playing games with us. We believe in all the power, that everything has power around us. The inanimate objects, the sun, the moon, the stars, everything has power. Throw them in a fiery furnace." So Abraham had one last chance. Nimrod says, "Either you are prepared to bow down to our idols, and if not, then we'll throw you in a fiery furnace." Abraham says, "No way, I only believe in God." So they throw him in a fiery furnace. God makes a miracle, and he comes out intact, and he manages to escape. Now that is, so basically what we see is Abraham was willing, of his own volition. This is the critical point, Andy. His own choice. He was willing to risk his life and to give up everything to sanctify God's name, to believe in God, to ascribe to his faith. Now, what's the question on this? That we find that Abraham, had 10 tests, 10 trials, leading up to the binding of Isaac, the ultimate test. The first test was, you're going to leave your country, get out, and move to a different place. I'll show you, eventually Israel. 10 tests. And this one, being thrown into the fiery furnace and risking one's life for God, is not counted as one of the tests. And the question is, why? And one of the answers that's given, friends, is what we started out saying. Gadol mitzuva v'oiseh v'she'eno mitzuva v'oiseh. Greater is a person who does something because they are commanded to do it than somebody who does something because they want to do it. We are here. It was epic. It was a great odyssey. Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his life and be thrown into the fiery furnace. But it didn't define who he was and who we are. Our job and our mission in life is to follow the directives and the commands and instructions of the Almighty. Nothing less and nothing more. It's not because I want to do something. It's because we are expected to do something, because he wants us to do something. That is what Judaism is all about. That is the definition of what it means to be a Jew. And that is why we have a handbook, a directive in the Torah, which enables us to give a signpost every step and every twist and turn of our lives as to how and what we should do, what we should be. So please God, that it is a fundamental precept and concept in Judaism, this idea that what we should be doing is following the commands. It's about not what we feel we want to do, but what God tells us we should be doing. It's easy to do chesed and kindness when we feel like it. It's easy to give charity when I feel like it. It's easy to pray when I feel I need it or I want it. But the challenge and the definition and the defining feature of a Jew is, am I able to do when I don't want to do it, when I'm not in the mood, when I don't feel inspired, but I do it because that's what's asked of me. That's what a soldier has to do in an army. That's what we are expected to do as loyal servants of God. Please God, we will be able to live exemplary lives where we are loyal to our faith, to our people, and in that way would be a source of nachas to the Almighty and a light to the nations. Wishing everyone well, keep safe, keep well, have a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow.